Good morning, Monarchs. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you to this leadership event. I'm Dr. Drew Ziegler, Director of the Laura S. Talley Center for Leadership Development. The Talley Center offers courses leading to a minor in leadership studies. The center also sponsors the Leadership Fellows and other activities on campus, including a major speaker every fall semester. And it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Zan Monroe is an author, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur who started his first business at the age of 16 and his first corporation at the age of 21. He has spent a lifetime studying and teaching the principles of success and leadership. Zan's clients include Fortune 500 companies, universities, and associations that want to inspire their associates to live a more successful life. His personal mission is to inspire another 5 million people to live more successful lives by January 1st, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't listen to Zan Monroe, you experience him. Please welcome Zan Monroe.
Hey, Drew, thanks for having me on. This is great. So this is part of the Methodist journey, the MU journey, is that right? So today we're talking about how you can further your career as a student here at Methodist University. And I understand we have folks from outside the university. So in addition to students, we have staff and faculty and alumni and several others. So welcome to the day. This morning I wanted to give you a little talk called Stories of Uncle Adrian. And it's the first book I wrote. It's based on my millionaire uncle, Adrian Williams. He was the family's self-made millionaire and a grand storyteller. So he was the one at Christmas when everybody came together at the house at Christmas time. We always wanted Uncle Adrian to be there because he always brought these fabulous stories like the bear in the woods and the three-legged chicken. And so as Drew said, I did start my first business at the age of 16, and I messed up a lot of things. My first corporation at the age of 21. Now I had a bigger opportunity to mess up everything. And as my father had passed away when I was 11 years old, and he left me on the farm with my mother and 3 older sisters. So I was the only male on the farm. As a matter of fact, all the horses were female, all the cows were female, even our 2 dogs were female. So I went in search of a father figure. And my Uncle Adrian, who was my mother's brother, was one of my very first. And he was a great source of inspiration when I'd mess things up at work. I would go out to Uncle Adrian's office and I'd sit down and I'd say, Uncle Adrian, I have just messed this part of my life up. And he would say, well, come on in, boy, and have a seat and tell me what you think. And he was a great big man, about 6'5", had huge hands. And he'd sit down and he'd say, well, tell me what you think. And I'd tell him what I've done. And he would say, well, what do you think you ought to do? And I'd tell him a couple of options. And he'd say, well, that sounds like a good idea. Let me give you a story. And then he would tell you a story and you would drive home thinking, well, Uncle Adrian never really helped me with my problem until a few days later when you realized the story that he had told you had solved your problem if you paid attention. And so when I became a speaker in 2000, traveling around the world, I used the stories that my Uncle Adrian used on me, and the audiences loved them. And people kept saying, oh, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. So we wrote this first book, and I can tell you, those of you, especially the ones in the English department, I am the last person I ever thought would write a book. I can't spell. I hate diagramming sentences, but if you stick with it, you can do just about anything in life. And I guess that's part of the message today, is if you will stay fixed on a course, you can achieve just about anything. And I'll give you a few stories as we go along that hopefully you'll remember. One of the first that comes to mind, I was a boy of about 17 years old. I'd gone out to see Uncle Adrian about something. And I'm leaving his office. I had my hand on the doorknob. I'm headed out the door, and Uncle Adrian says, son, let me tell you something. He said, you'll become what you think about. I want to pass that message on to you today. You'll become what you think about. Whatever you focus on in life is where you will go. Whatever you focus on in your world will expand. The good things, if you focus on all the good in the world around you, that is what you will see. And if you focus on all the negative and bad things in the world around you, that is what you'll see. But at 17, that sentence bothered me a lot because Uncle Adrian said, son, you'll become what you think about. I remember driving home that day, kind of sick to my stomach. I couldn't eat. And for days, I couldn't sleep because at 17, if you become what you think about, I was afraid I'd turn into a girl. Now, you begin to see a little bit about my Uncle Adrian with that. There's always fun to be had with my Uncle Adrian, and there's always fun to be had in life. So what can Uncle Adrian teach us today, especially dealing with the changes as you are in a university setting, to deal with the radical changes that we've undergone in 2020. It's just another day. And as you live longer and longer, you'll realize that it all depends on how you deal with the situation. So I'm going to give you this path. My Uncle Adrian would say, plan your work and work your plan. Now, as a student at Methodist University, you have to plan your work, and then you have to work your plan. And part of your plan needs to be time away from your studies and to relax and get out in the beautiful sunshine, but you've got to have a plan. Now, I have a friend in Kansas that tells me all the time, he says, anything done systematically is better than anything done at random. So if you will set a plan, if you'll set a schedule to plan your work and then work that plan, you'll become a much more efficient student, and that will carry over into real life out here where the universe is going to hand you all sorts of curveballs. I read a piece the other day that said, life doesn't tell you when it's getting ready to mess your world up. It just does. And then you have to handle it. Plan your work. Work your plan. And I have taught business planning and life planning all over the world for the last 20 years. And that's really what this book is about, the 6 areas of your life that you should plan. The problem is most people don't plan. Most people don't know how. Well, I've developed with this book the 4 simple questions you should ask. So here's your first piece of homework. And I think your professors are going to be asking you about this a little later on. There are 4 questions you should ask yourself before you do anything. Here's the first question. Where am I? Where am I? Where are you in your career? Where are you in your student life? Where are you in life? Well, my next door neighbor is that guy you see in the movies. I mean, we're here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We're attached to Fort Bragg, the world's largest landmass military base, home of the 82nd Airborne, Special Operations Command, Special Forces, and Delta Force. My next door neighbor is that guy. He's a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. military, the only active lieutenant colonel that is still in the field doing special operations. And I was talking to him in the yard one day, and he said, Zan, when they dropped me out of an aircraft in the middle of the night over a foreign country and I hit the ground, my first mission is to know where I am, because you can't know where you're going until you know where you are. First question to plan, where am I? Here's your second question. Where do you want to go? You're here as a student at Methodist University. Where do you want to go? Now, I think it's, at my age, it's unfair to ask a student your age where you want to go in life, because I've had many careers, and so will you. Now, Uncle Adrian did, my mother did, everybody I've studied has had multiple careers. So where you're going to end up in life is not where you're going to start out, but it's the journey. Hence the name of this course, the MU Journey. You got to enjoy the journey. 4 questions to lead you anywhere. The first is, where am I? Second is, where do you want to go? Here comes the third question. This one is the most important. So when you write it down, you are taking notes out there, right? You're writing this down? Write this down. Number 3, why? Why? That's the most important question you can ever ask. Why? If your why is big enough, you can achieve anything. If your why is big enough, you can achieve anything. But if your why isn't big enough, you're going to give up. Taking the time to determine your why is the key to success. It's the key to living a better life. It's the key to being a better student. It's the key to all things. You have to know why you're doing it at any moment, in any given time. Where am I? Where do I want to go? Why? Your why is going to change throughout life. Young college student, your why is to graduate. Graduate and get a job, your why is to earn money. You get married and you have children, your why shifts to your kids. I'm old enough now, I've got grandkids. My why is my grandkids. Your why keeps changing. You have to re-identify it. Oh, I said there was 4 questions. Where do you want it? Where are you? Where do you want to go? Why? Number 4 is the easiest one. How? How is all around you. How is why you're at Methodist University. How is, everybody knows how. If not, look it up on Google. There's a world of information out there on how. None of it will mean a thing to you if you don't figure out your why. Uncle Adrian always planned. I started writing business plans when I was 16 years old. My friend and I would write them every year. But Uncle Adrian had a friend. His name was Mr. Talley. And Mr. Talley never planned. I mean, never, ever planned. He never planned a day in his life. He'd just get up and take the day as it was. And Uncle Adrian and Mr. Talley would argue over the fact that you need a plan. You've got to have a plan and, plan your work and work your plan. Mr. Talley knew I don't ever have to worry about all that sort of stuff. The world will just take care of itself. And one day, Mr. Talley was walking in the woods and a bear fell upon him and began to eat him. And Mr. Talley said, "Oh my goodness, I'm about to die. I better make a plan." So he offered up a prayer. He said, "Dear Lord, save me from the bear." But the bear just kept eating on him. Mr. Talley said, "Oh, maybe this planning stuff was good. Maybe I should have done more planning earlier. Maybe I should make a plan now that's better than the one I just came up with." So he offered up another prayer. He said, "Dear Lord, I know you're not going to save me. I've never accepted your ways. I've never planned on this day of dying. I figured I'd just live every day as it was. But Lord, I know you're not going to save me, but would you save the bear? Would you turn the bear's heart to your ways, Lord?" And suddenly the bear rolled off of him and went over into a little clearing and fell down on his little bare knees and folded up his little bare paws and began to pray. And Mr. Talley said, "This planning stuff really works. This planning stuff is really cool. I need to plan more. But I wonder what the bear is saying." So he drug himself over to where the bear was finishing his prayer just in time to hear, "And dear Lord, please bless this food I'm about to consume." You don't want to get eaten by the bear. Plan your work, work your plan. Now you begin to see my Uncle Adrian had a sense of humor. We cover 6 areas of mastery in your life, and these books are on your campus. I think some of your professors have them, so some of you may get access to this book. Let's take you through these 6 areas of your life that you need to formulate mastery in. You may want to jot these down. If you want to be a whole human, if you want to come out of Methodist University and have a great foundation, let's focus on these 6 areas of your life. Here's number 1, your physical being, your body. You see, we are animals, just like the bears in the jungle and the tigers and all that. But the human animal wasn't given fur. We weren't given claws. We can't run very fast. What we have is a brain. And as a human animal, your body carries your brain around. And if your body is in fully functioning at 100%, you're going to think better. Exercise is the greatest reducer to stress. Exercise. Go for a walk in the morning before the rest of the campus wakes up. Here's my note. You might want to jot this down. To be in control of your life, you must first be in control of your body. And to be in control, I'll say that one again. First, to be in control of your life, you must be in control of your body. To be in control of your body, you got to judge what goes in it. The food you eat, the liquids you consume. Let me ask you this. Are you on a diet? I mean, here we are, college students. Are you on a diet? Raise a hand. Anybody? Yes, you all are on a diet because your diet is whatever you eat. Now, here's the problem with our world today. We're confused about what real food is. The human diet has not changed for the last 10,000 years until 50 years ago. And in 50 years ago, we introduced what's called processed foods, which means they're made in a building. They don't grow from the earth. They don't walk on this earth. They are made inside a factory. It's not real food. The human body needs just a few simple things. Protein. Fish, meat, pork, poultry, protein. We need protein. We need vegetables. Your mama was right. Eat your vegetables. Protein, vegetables, whole grains. That's about it. That's all you need. Now, there are some foods you need to avoid. Anything that's in the middle of a grocery store, anything you can buy in a convenience store, avoid that like that. If it comes in a bag, don't eat it. If it comes in a can with a pop top, unless it's vegetables, don't eat it. And anything they hand you out of a fast food window is not good for you. There are 3 categories of food you should avoid. The first is caffeine. Caffeine has become the drug of choice for the world. At one point, Starbucks was opening up 5 new Starbucks a day in China. 5 a day. We drink caffeine like it's water. We drink those power drinks. Are you kidding me? Have you ever researched what all those labels, the stuff in the labels of those power drinks actually is? When I was in college, to get that stuff, you had to see the guy at the end of the hall and buy those things. They came in pill form. Not that I ever did that. Take one of those, you'd be awake for a week. Come on, guys. Pay attention. Your body's trying to tell you. Caffeine. Sure, you want to have a cup of coffee in the morning? Great. All day long? Oh, and by the way, Harvard did a piece of research. If you're going to study all night, pull an all-nighter, you are much better at learning if you will take naps or study and sleep well, because your brain resorts and sifts all the information that it knows while you're asleep. Foods to avoid. The second is sugar. I have doctor friends who tell me that if sugar were taken off the market today and brought back on as a drug, it would never be allowed back on. And the third is alcohol. Now, I don't care what the newspaper says, alcohol is not good for you. My Uncle Adrian never drank alcohol, never drank it, never tasted it, not in any day of his life. And he said he grew up out in Eastover, just almost exactly across the Cape Fear River from the Methodist campus. And he attended Salem United Methodist Church out there. And he said when he was a young man, he said the preacher out there got to preaching on temperance. Now, temperance, for those of you college students who have never heard that term, means not drinking alcohol. And the preacher got so excited about preaching about temperance and no alcohol that he came down off the dais and out into the congregation, and everybody in the congregation was like, whoa, dude, calm down. But he just got into his sermon. And the more he preached, the wilder he got. And he finished his sermon with 3 great sentences. He said, if I had all the beer in the world, I'd pour it in the Cape Fear River. If I had all the wine in the world, I'd pour it in the Cape Fear River. If I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd pour it in the Cape Fear River. And to the congregation's relief, he went back and took his seat, and the music minister stood up with an odd smile and said, ladies and gentlemen, please turn to hymn 365, Shall We Gather at the River. Uncle Adrian had fun. Hope you're having fun as you go through. The second area of your life that we should be focused on is your spiritual and educational growth. Now, I want to give you a couple of things. You're at a university, so you are working on your educational growth. But let me tell you something. If you go to the American Literacy Council website, they will tell you that in the United States today, 25% of the U.S. population, after they finish formal education, 25% of the U.S. population will never, ever read another entire book. Your education is just beginning. On my wall over here in my office is filled with books. And books change the way you think. It's also one of the greatest ways. See, this is a very small book. Take you an hour to read. Took me 2 years to write it. So you get 2 years of focused, concentrated thought in about an hour. Reading. Now, I know your professors are making you read some of the most god-awful things out there. Oh, it'll hurt your head. And I still read some college textbooks from time to time because I'm still doing research. Your education never ends. You think you're going to graduate in 4 years and have a degree and that's the end of that? Oh no, you're just getting started. Your spiritual and educational growth is the key to your life. Now here, let me give you some Uncle Adrian advice. This is what he told me when I was young. He said, son, everybody's been given a talent. Your job is to find your talent and to use it to your best ability. It takes a little bit of living to find your talent. And there are 9 different types of intelligence. And what you're looking around at your fellow students going, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I was that. No, be you. If you're not who you are, then who are you? Think about that one. Don't try and be everybody else. Be who you are. And you are one unique human being. Well, what's your talent? See, my talent is teaching. I've been a teacher since I was 16 years old. My first business was teaching kids to play tennis and to swim. Ran that business into my first corporation, which was a tennis and swim club in Eastover. That led me into teaching realtors nationwide, speaking, writing books. You got to find your talent. And sometimes your talent comes so naturally to you, you think everybody can do it. I have a daughter who's a singer. She thinks everyone can sing. Oh no. What is your talent? Now, you want to take a few more notes? Jot this down. In your educational growth, you can achieve anything. I told you that earlier. Let's try this one. You can achieve anything. Number 1, you must set goals. We're back to planning, aren't we? You got to set goals that get you emotionally involved. Just a goal. Oh, I'm going to, pass chemistry 101. Yeah, I tried that. Chemistry sent me home. Set your goals that get you emotionally involved. Here's number 2. Create images in your mind that clearly visualize how your life will be when you achieve that goal. If you can't visualize it, you can't have it. 1, clearly defined goals, crystal clear, written out, and then visualize goals. 3rd is got to be in writing. There's something magical that happens when you translate thoughts into written words. Because what's in here and what comes out here can be 2 dramatically different things. You can achieve anything, but the key to goal setting, The key to your future is specific goals. Don't get just general. Oh, I'd like to be, I had a friend tell me a few months ago, he goes, next year, I'd like to play more golf. I said, well, how much golf did you play this year? Well, I don't know, a lot. I said, did you count the number of times you played golf? No. Well, if you want to play more golf next year, you better count the number of times you played golf this year. So you got to get real specific with your goal setting. My Uncle Adrian sold life insurance for Southern Life Insurance Company. And that was back in the day before fax machines and email, when you had to write a life insurance policy on a piece of paper and then carry that signed contract back to your home office. He worked for Southern Life Insurance Company out of Greensboro, North Carolina. So every Friday he would drive up there with the contracts that he had written for the week. Now this was in the 1950s. And Uncle Adrian was driving towards Greensboro, just past Siler City, and he said, Highway 421 is a 2-lane road. And he said, I'm driving down the road and I look out the window of my car and there's a chicken on the side of the road. He said, a chicken on the side of the road in 1950 was not an unusual thing. But he said, the problem was the chicken was running as fast as my car was going. He said, I looked down, I was going 25 miles an hour. Chicken's keeping up with the car. 35 miles an hour, chicken's running right with the car. 45 miles an hour, chicken running right with the car. And he said, the woods sort of opened up into a little farm and the chicken turned and ran down the driveway. And he noticed there was a little farm back in there, had a lot of chickens in the yard. And he said, curiosity got me the better of me. I turned around and went back, pulled in the driveway. And sure enough, the farmer's on the front porch. Aren't they always? He said, I got out of the car and walked to the front porch and he said, good day, Mr. Farmer. My name is Mr. Adrian Williams. I'm from Fayetteville and I was driving down the road and I think one of your chickens was running along with my car. And the farmer said, yep. Uncle Adrian said, wait a minute, you don't understand here. He said, that chicken was running 45 miles an hour. And the farmer said, yep. They don't talk much in Siler City. Uncle Adrian said, wait a minute. You got to explain to me how you have chickens that can run so fast. And the farmer said, it was my life's dream to breed 3-legged chickens. Uncle Adrian said, why? He said, well, I have 3 daughters. And if we killed a chicken here on the farm and we fried it up, there's only 2 drumsticks and my 3 daughters all love the drumsticks. So we had these terrible fights at the dinner table. I had to figure out something. I spent 20 years of my life breeding 3-legged chickens. And what you see here is the result of all that work. And Uncle Adrian said, the man said it without the least bit of enthusiasm. He wasn't proud of his work at all. Uncle Adrian said, well, I just have one question. How did they taste? The man said, I don't know. They're so daggone fast, we can't catch them. If you're going to set a goal, it's got to be specific. You don't want to breed 3-legged chickens in your life and not be able to catch your dreams. The difference between dreams and goals is written and specific. The third part of Uncle Adrian's book is relationships. And the 4 steps that I taught you earlier in this presentation, the 4 questions of planning, apply to each one of these areas, including relationships. My Uncle Adrian told me, he said, you'll become who you hang out with. So I'm going to give you a challenge. First time I heard this, I was in college. It's my turn to hand it to you. Go check your closest friends. That'll tell me who you are. You introduce me to your 4 closest friends. I'll show you who you are because you'll become who you hang out with in your relationships. Now, as a parent, and those of you who are listening out there that are not students, let me ask you this. At what age do your children's friends stop affecting their behavior? Think about it. Your friends affect your behavior. At what age do you escape that? I got news for you. You never do. Your behavior will be controlled and influenced tremendously by your friends. Not your friends on Facebook, your true friends. Show me your closest friends. I'll show you who you are. Well, here's what we have learned over a lifetime is that your relationships, the people you hang out with, are crucial to your success. And if people around you are dragging you down every day, well, that's where you're going to end up. Chapter 4 of this little book, or the fourth thing I want to talk to you about today, is the value of joy in your life. A gentleman named Shawn Achor wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. He was a psychiatrist, psychologist. He got permission from Harvard University to study their incoming freshmen because he wanted to study the relationship between happiness and success. And he thought, well, Harvard is the world's most difficult university to get into, closely followed by Methodist University, I can say. And the truth is, he wanted to study those people that had achieved what we would assume would be great success in life. So I'll challenge you, the freshman of Methodist University. You underwent a battle to get into Methodist University, and you have achieved a level of success. You got to realize everybody can't get in. Everybody doesn't qualify. You did. So you have achieved a goal in your life, which was becoming accepted at Methodist University. Now I got a question for you. Did that make you happy? Did it make you happy? Because what Shawn Achor's research shows is that achieving your goals does not make you happy. Happiness makes you achieve your goals. You got to start in here. We go back to the last chapter and work on your relationship with yourself. If you are happy with yourself, if you're happy with your achievements in life, then you can achieve anything. But you've got to have internal happiness. There has to be joy within you. One of the greatest things I get to do is this, teach. I'm a teacher. I love it. After we're done, I have to answer emails and got paperwork and all sorts of other stuff. I'd rather stay here with y'all because I'm a teacher and teaching brings me joy. Joy brings me to teaching. What makes you happy? I'll give you the same advice my mother gave me when I went off to college. She said, son, do what you enjoy. You'll be good at it. Well, if you enjoy math, go work on it. If you enjoy science, go work on it. If you enjoy tennis, go play. Well, you still got to study. But the truth is, what is bringing you joy? Because the happier you are, the faster you can succeed. Passion. Joy translates into passion. Passion translates into persistence. You see, we're back to those 4 questions, and your why is driven by your joy in life. Your why is driven because if you enjoy it, you will do it constantly, which creates passion. My Uncle Adrian had a friend, his name was Mr. Ed Carlin, and he was passionate about playing the game of golf. And y'all have a great golf program there at Methodist University. I've worked with the tennis side of your golf and tennis program out there over the years. And Mr. Ed Carlin loved the game of golf more than anything. And he had retired from his regular work and played golf virtually every day. And when he could find friends to play with, he would. And when he couldn't, well, he would take his wife. Well, his wife didn't play golf. She didn't like the game of golf, but Mr. Carlin liked it so much. She would walk along and look at the birds and the trees. And so one day they were out playing golf, and on the second hole, Mrs. Carlin stepped in a hole and broke her ankle. Now, as they were walking the golf course instead of using a cart, Mr. Carlin had a problem. He had to decide what to do with his wife. And because he was an ex-military man, he knew he could not leave a fallen soldier or his fallen wife. So he had to either pick her up and carry her to help or go get help and come back. The first anybody knew of her accident on the golf course is when he walked up onto the 18th green and set her gently down on the green. And people came rushing out of the clubhouse. Oh my goodness, we've had an accident. And they called the ambulance and they got her help and got her in the ambulance, and off they went. And they said, Mr. Carlin, this is one of the greatest feats of passion and persistence, to be able to pick your wife up and carry her to the clubhouse. And he said, well, the truth is, the carrying her was not very difficult. Picking her up and setting her back down in between every shot was quite difficult, but getting her here wasn't that hard. Passion will take you where nobody else can take you. And persistence, well, it'll get you there. We've got 2 last chapters in this book, and they are on business and finance. Now, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I'm old enough to do this, and besides, I have the floor. They can't stop me at this point. I don't care what your major is, whether you're in the PA program at Methodist University, whether you're in chemistry, or whether you're a business major, if you're in the tennis or golf program. I don't know what your major is, and I don't care. But every one of you needs to take business courses, every single one of you, because no matter what your job is as you leave this university, you're going to be in business. Business wraps around. My doctor friends are running businesses. My lawyer friends run businesses. Everyone I know, you're either an employee in a business or you own and operate your own business. And everyone in your business needs to be focused on customer service. You see, customer service is simple. Customer service is saying the right thing at the right time. And you experience this every day. You leave campus and you go to a restaurant, or you go to any business and you walk in the door. It's all about saying the right thing at the right time, customer service. It's what I teach all around the world in business. Customer service. And I have seen fabulous examples of customer service. It all ends up saying the right thing at the right time. And there are some simple rules to making great presentations, simple rules to being able to say the right thing. So I'm going to give you 3 rules. 3 rules that may not mean much to you now, but when you leave the university and you enter the workforce, you're going to be asked to make presentations. Not necessarily this large a presentation, but the truth is you're going to have to make presentations, and you do them anyway. So let me give you 3 pieces of advice, because I'm in the presentation business. Number 1, showing is better than telling. You need to show people things. Don't just tell them, show them. Number 2, asking is better than telling. You should always, in a business conversation, ask the consumer, ask the person on the other side of the desk, what can I do for you today? You can't be the answer to someone's prayers until you know what they're praying for. And here's the third key to great presentations is it matters who says it. If I had you all live in the auditorium, I would be asking your feedback, because doing great presentations, showing is better than telling, asking is better than telling, but the key is it matters who says it. So when the person in the business allows the consumer to say, well, this is the product that I want, this is the service that I need, they become more effective. But the key here, and the one last takeaway I want to give you, is it's all about saying the right thing at the right time. Uncle Adrian had a friend named John. And John woke up one day with the worst hangover of his life. Now, I'm not going to ask if those of you in college have ever had a hangover, because I know you're too young to do that. But some people, at some point in their lives, overindulge. And this was one of those hangovers that was, well, it was a kind of hangover that John knew he was in trouble before he ever woke up. And when he woke up, he opened one eye because the other eye was swollen shut. And he tried to think back on the night before. He couldn't remember anything. And he thought, what happened last night? He remembered leaving work, and that's all he remembered. And his eye was all crusty and swollen, and he looked over to the left, and on the bedside table, there was a rose in a vase and a note underneath the rose. And he took his one good eye and he held up the note and he looked at it, and it was in his wife's handwriting. He thought, oh my God, what happened last night? Did I do something wrong? Oh no. And he began to read, and the letter said, Dear John, I have washed your clothes and they are on the foot of your bed. I have cleaned your house from top to bottom. I have made your breakfast and it's on the stove warming for you. And today, I love you more than I have ever loved you in my life. John goes, what happened last night? I got a black eye, can't remember coming home, can't remember what happened from work. And then there was a PS. It said, PS, the Tylenol are for your eye because I know it hurts. John looks around, he takes the Tylenol and he pops them in his mouth. He can't find anything else. He takes the rose out of the vase, he drinks the water out of the vase. He gets out of the bed, and sure enough, his clothes from yesterday are ironed and pressed and washed and clean and right there on the foot of his bed. He stumbles down the hall and looks in the living room. There's a piece of broken furniture. A door is hanging off the hinges. There's a great big wet spot in the middle of the hallway. He goes, what happened last night? Tries to remember, can't remember a thing. He goes in the kitchen. There's his college-age son sitting at the kitchen table, and sure enough, on the stove, there's his dinner warming. John says to his son, goes, son, help me out here. What happened last night? He goes, oh, Dad, oh, God, you came home at 3 a.m. drunk out of your mind. You were awful. You didn't even know where you were. You kicked in the front door. You fell over the coffee table, broke it all to pieces. You fell into the hallway, threw up. We got you up. You fell into a door. You hit your eye on a doorknob, broke the door. That's why it's off the hinges. Mom and I had to drag you into the bedroom and take your clothes off of you and put you in the bed. John says, son, this doesn't make any sense. He goes, your mom, she leaves me this note that says she loves me. He goes, all that. She said, Mom and I are trying to take your pants off of you. You kept screaming at her, leave me alone, woman. I'm a happily married man. Saying the right thing at the right time is great customer service. My name is Zan Monroe. It's been my honor and pleasure to be with you today. However, Stories of Uncle Adrian is complete. I hope you've enjoyed our day today. I hope you've gotten something good from it. I do indeed hope that we get to meet on campus again soon. Thank you for your time today. I think Drew has a few words for us before we go.
That's right, Zan. Thank you so much for those wonderful stories. I don't think I'll ever look at a piece of chicken the same again in the future. Really enjoyed them. I know everyone who tuned in enjoyed your presentation as well. And for all of us, just let me say that this does conclude today's program. Thank you.